Hi, and welcome to another episode of Forbidden Knowledge with Billy Carson. Today we're going to talk about sentient living crystals. Are crystals alive? Well, based off of my research, I tend to think they are. And I've looked into them and researched them now for a little over a decade, and I really felt there was a lot of information and sources that I can now pull together to give you a basic understanding of crystals, how they work, and what they can do for us, and then let you come up with your own decision. There's a famous quote by Nikola Tesla that says, "In a crystal we have clear evidence of an existence of a formative life principle. And though we cannot understand the life of a crystal, it is nonetheless a living being." And I think it's a very, very important quote by Nikola Tesla. He's literally telling us at this moment that crystals are living sentient beings. So let's look into this. Let's take a look at all the information. Let's put it together and come up with our own conclusions. What is sentience? When I say what is this, when I say the word sentient, people go, well, what is that? Some people may not know. Well, sentience is the ability for a living thing to perceive or feel things. So we're talking about the ability to feel, experience emotion, and experience the world around us, experience this universe. Okay, so we're going to have to now do some research and see if crystals have the capability of doing that. And if they do, then I'm kind of leaning towards the fact that they might be sentient. You know, a lot of people have heard this terminology before, this quote, "I think, therefore I am." So you and I as human beings have the ability to think and perceive the universe in ways that no other living being can. And it doesn't mean that we're not the only beings that can do that, or that we're the only beings that are sentient. It just means that we have a very unique capability of doing it, as we have now pretty much taken over control of this planet. And we look to other species now to research them to find out more about ourselves. So what is actually a crystal? A crystal is a homogeneous solid substance having natural geometrically regular form with symmetrically arranged plane faces. So this is what a crystal is. And crystals are more than just an established batch of molecules or atoms. Crystals come in many different shapes and sizes. As a matter of fact, each one has different characteristics. We're going to look at that today. What they are is basically how they form. So whatever the composites that make up a crystal is going to determine how they actually form. For example, if you're made from salt, then they will form like cube-shaped crystals. Some are derived from other elements in completely different shapes, and some examples of these are diamonds, rubies, and many other elements. So if you look at the elements that can create more than one shape, then the element carbon is one form of a diamond. This is the type of crystal that we utilize a lot. It can be used to cut gemstones, but we also use it every other day in different forms of technology and a variety of things. And we're going to cover that. The biggest form which we use carbon crystals is to supply electricity to our homes and businesses. A lot of people didn't know that. If you want to see how crystals are formed, you can do a very little project in your kitchen and see how the formation of crystals can occur with your own eyes. This can be done by simply putting a small amount of table salt into some regular tap water, wait 24 hours, and you'll see nice cube formations. This happens because the water is evaporating, which causes the atoms to make up the salt and water come close together. They eventually come so close and tightly clustered together that the atoms actually come together and form what the naked eye can actually see as a crystal formation. Crystals such as quartz can be tapped for electricity using the piezoelectric method, which is accompanied by mechanical energy discharge. In layman's terms, you can take a crystal and you can apply pressure to it. When you apply pressure to it, it then instantaneously gives off a spark of electricity. This is amazing. A lot of people didn't realize this, but lighters and your gas grill ignition buttons, some people have fireplaces in their home that have that push button start. All of those are actually run by crystals that don't need batteries. Have you ever thought how the spark occurs? It's not because of metal to metal, it's because you're applying pressure to a crystal that then creates an electric spark. Making a small crystal electric generator is really not that hard to do. The average inventor can do one in about a half hour in their backyard. So now that we've talked a little briefly about crystals and looked at, some of these demonstrations, what is a fractal? Because crystals and fractals both go together. Fractals are a part of the whole. Fractals are a part of our entire universe. And a fractal is actually a geometric figure in which each part has the same statistical characteristic as a whole. So fractals are useful in modeling structures. This is what we use to model digital structures and also even massive structures that we have in the physical reality as well. We can find fractals in things like snowflakes, eroded coastlines. We can find them in your lungs, in your blood vessels, which we'll talk about. You can also find fractals in the actual creation of the entire universe itself. So if you want to create a galaxy, fractal mathematics can actually create a galaxy. Fractals are a natural phenomenon or a mathematical setup that exhibit a repeating pattern. This is something called the Mandelbrot set, invented by Benoit Mandelbrot. Benoit Mandelbrot is the mathematician that discovered the formula for fractals. His famous equation became known as the Mandelbrot set. When computed and graphed on the complex plane, the Mandelbrot set is seen to have an elaborate boundary which does not simplify at any given magnification. This simplifies or qualifies the boundary as a fractal. The Mandelbrot set has become a popular mathematical tool and aesthetic appeal for complicated structures arising from simple definitions. What does this mean in layman terms? It means, for example, video games can use fractal geometry to create sophisticated landscapes. If you look at the video game called No Man's Sky, they have over 80 billion inhabited worlds and endless adventures on something the size of a DVD, all based off this simple mathematical formula known as the Mandelbrot set. So now let's take a look at examples of fractals in nature. Well, we have blood vessels, okay? We're part of nature ourselves. Blood vessels are one of the most impressive examples of fractal branching in our bodies. Every cell in the body must be close to a blood vessel in order to receive oxygen and nutrients. The only way that this is possible is through a fractal branching network where blood vessels branch down to smaller and smaller scales. Depending on how they're measured, humans have about 150,000 kilometers of blood vessels, which is basically enough to go around the entire world several times. The fractal properties found in the human body help our bodies to work more efficiently. By using a repeating pattern which gets smaller each time, the organ systems in our bodies are able to maximize the space. With the golden ratio, we can see how the human body was formed in the same proportions as many planets, animals, and other natural phenomena. Here we see a picture of a human lung. You can see a repeating branch-like pattern. The reason this is quite simple, the human body has developed a structure-function relationship, and the human lungs have a highly sophisticated layout using fractal-based properties to maximize the space. The layout of the human lungs resembles that of a tree. It is a simple branching out pattern that repeats over and over, and because fractals are found in nature, they can't be infinite. The pattern goes on for about 12 sets. This occurs so that oxygen can be taken in as efficiently as possible. Without this pattern, the human lungs would actually have to do many times the current work and be many times their normal size. Because of this pattern, oxygen is actually able to diffuse into the lungs through a process called osmosis. Without this pattern, human lungs would have to actually be many times their current size. And because of this pattern, the oxygen is able to diffuse into the lungs through a process we call osmosis. So this basically has the capability of allowing your areoli to absorb more oxygen and give it out to the blood vessels. Without the fractal pattern, we'd probably all breathe like a 20-year-old cigarette smoker. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is our brains actually have billions of magnetite crystals inside of them. Our brains are full of fractals. The human brain comprises approximately 100 billion neurons. That's amazingly about 100 trillion synapses or connections among these brain cells that occur every single moment, and which, by the way, resemble our entire universe zoomed out from a different perspective. So if you were to look at our entire universe and zoom out several hundred trillion miles and take a look back at it, it would look like the synapses in a human brain. That's amazing. People have been seeking the truth about the origin of the world for as long as humans have basically existed, and in doing so, we've come up with many complex theories to explain life. There are scientific explanations, religious explanations, and also spiritual explanations. People have been seeking the truth about the origin of the world for as long as humans have existed, and in doing so, we've come up with many complex theories to explain life. There are scientific theories, religious theories, spiritual theories. One of the key theories that deserve attention is the fact that every form in the universe is simply vibrational energy, and that this energy controls both physical and mental functions within the human body, which in turn affects our brainwave vibrations. These brainwaves fluctuate at specific frequencies and alternate our state of consciousness from high to low, just like you have a high frequency and a low frequency. When you're at a high frequency, you're syncing with the universe. When you're at a low frequency, you're actually not syncing with the universe as you should be. We have gamma waves, which help with inspiration, higher learning, and focus at 40 hertz. Beta waves, which help with alertness, concentration, and cognition at 13 to 40 hertz. Alpha, which helps at visualization, relaxation, and creativity at 7 to 13 hertz. Theta, which helps at meditation, intuition, memory at 4 to 7 hertz. And delta, which helps at detached awareness, healing, and sleep at 4 hertz. This theory supposes that our thoughts and emotions are simply energies that positively or negatively impact our emotional well-being and dictate our physical body reactions and project how we're going to perceive the world through our mind's eyes. So every time you think and feel, your brainwaves emit vibrations that send out a sound frequency outside the range of human hearing. This sound resonates in the universe, taking random particles and turning them into astonishing forms which can become matter. This is known as cymatics. You are resonating a frequency which is making the energy around you match that frequency. According to the ancients, the human body has power nodes known as the chakra system. And also, according to those same ancients and ancestors, they talk about the fact that crystals synchronize with these actual power nodes on the human body, helping to give you alignment, spiritual alignment, and also physical alignment as well. Things that you can actually utilize in your real life, as well as the unseen. So let's take a look at some of these crystals that they talk about. The first one is black obsidian. And this black obsidian is a crystal that you're supposed to put in your pillowcase or your nightstand, and it'll help you fall asleep better. It's supposed to help you decompress and ground yourself, and it's supposed to make you feel very relaxed at the end of the day. And then for the next crystal, we have carnelian, which is a crystal that helps provide emotional support for the female reproductive system. So if you're having female reproductive issues, some women actually like to put a piece of carnelian close to their body, maybe on a necklace or on a bracelet, and walk around with it all the time. There's another crystal that helps with yourself, with your body and your self-confidence, and it's called citrine. Now, citrine is a very, very popular crystal that I see a lot of people walking around with. A lot of businessmen, believe it or not, use this citrine because it helps with recognizing your personal power. It helps recognize with your self-confidence, establishing a healthy boundary within your life, and helping with balance in your yin and your yang. So citrine is a very powerful crystal that a lot of entrepreneurs and business people I tend to see to have, although anybody can utilize it. There's another crystal called rose quartz. You may have heard of this. It's very popular. This works along with the fourth chakra. Rose quartz helps to promote positive energy. It enhances all types of love, self-love, love for others, unconditional love. It vibrates at the 528 hertz frequency. This tiny but mighty little baby pink wonder raises self-esteem, restores confidence, and helps with emotional balances and releases stress and tension, and also helps with anger. You might have heard of lapis lazuli. It's actually a very famous name, a term that's used for a crystal. A lot of ancient Sumerian tablets talk about it. It's very popular in the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is an ancient Sumerian cuneiform writing, which is in the British Museum. And also, even it made its way into the more modern religious texts like the modern day Bible, where lapis lazuli is given out. It actually enhances the throat chakra and promotes speaking one's truth and grace, and allows you to speak with ease and confidence. Clear quartz crystal is the 7th chakra stone, and it basically goes right to the crown. Now, clear quartz is known as a master healer. It amplifies the energy, thoughts, and vibrations of other crystals as well. So it'll enhance any other crystals within the vicinity of you or on your body, and it's used for connecting you with your higher self, intuition, and spiritual guides. Amethyst. This is a very popular crystal. Ever wonder why you see crystal stores or different department stores have a giant purple amethyst geode in the corner of the room? It's because it helps to get rid of negative energy. So I know we all can use a little bit of that around us. Amethyst actually eliminates or absorbs negative energy and turns it into positive energy. So amethyst is a stone that really goes along with the third eye or the 6th chakra, and it's a super high vibrational stone, and it helps us to know our intuition better and connect us to higher planes of existence.